is an advisor to Ukraine's defence minister. So does he think Ukraine got what it needed from the summit today?
Andrew, I think President Zelensky actually said it very accurately himself when he said that this was a good NATO summit for Ukraine, but it would have been ideal had we received a clear invitation to join NATO with a clear timeline. Our president said that, NATO will be stronger with Ukraine and Ukraine will be safer as part of NATO. So I think we're all on the same page. And of course, we would like to move faster, but we have received the commitment of our allies. We have received security guarantees that will be there in place until the moment that when Ukraine joins NATO.
The sentiment is willing, but do you accept that Ukraine can't join NATO now and will never be able to join NATO while there are Russian forces in the country?
Well, we've said it all the while that we are adequate and we understand that while there is a war in Ukraine, we cannot become a full-fledged member of NATO. Now, as to the question of our territories, we are confident that we will liberate all of our lands and this will not be an issue.
Tell me about the contribution you think Ukraine will make to the alliance if and when it does join.
Well, I would say not that the contribution that Ukraine will make to the alliance. I'd paraphrase it and say that the contribution that Ukraine is already making to the alliance, because de facto, we are at the moment protecting the eastern flank of NATO. Russia, they are not planning to stop in Ukraine. They are threatening the Baltic states. They're threatening other Eastern European countries who are members of the NATO alliance almost on a daily basis. So in essence, we are already a protective shield that stops this aggression from spreading further west.
It can't have been easy to hear the UK Defence Secretary Ben Wallace talk about Ukraine needing to be more grateful.
Quite frankly, Andrew, we were surprised by this statement by Ms. Wallace because he has been a very, very true and great supporter of Ukraine. Our Minister of Defense, Alexei Reznikov, considers Ben Wallace his personal friend. They have really great relationship. And of course, we as a country, we are eternally grateful to the United Kingdom for supporting Ukraine. The UK was the first country to contribute tanks, Challenger 2 tanks. We thank our allies every day, and we thank the United Kingdom. I have personally given more than 300 interviews to the British media, and I don't think you will find one where I will not say how thankful we are, on so many different levels.
In the US, a lot of people in the Republican Party are beginning to question whether it's a good use of money to continue supporting Ukrainian forces to the extent that's happened up until now. What do you say to them?
I believe this is probably part of some internal politics, and we will never interfere into domestic politics of our partners. But again, I was in the US on a number of occasions. I've met with ordinary people who are Republican leaning, who are true Republicans. I've met Democrats. I've met all across the board. There is very high level of support for Ukraine. So we understand that in each country there are elections, there are policy issues that have to be debated. But by and large, I think the United States will continue to provide bipartisan support to Ukraine because they understand very well the real threat that Russia poses, not just to Ukraine, but to the Euro-Atlantic security. Look at the risks of terrorist act on the nuclear power plant in Zaporizhia. Look at the grain deal and the risk and the threat that there will be a global food security crisis. So it is in the national interest of each one of our partners to defeat the enemy on the battlefield and make sure that we restore stability in Europe and will not allow this to repeat again.
Yuriy, who advises Ukraine's defence minister. The Republican